Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Hearts 2 Critical Mode Any Percent Speedrun tutorial. And well, we've made it to the big one. As you probably know, Olympus Coliseum, pretty notoriously difficult world. There's going to be a lot to go over into this one, so let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So OC kind of just starts off with you running over to the first fight of the world, that being Hades' Escape. Not a ton to talk about here, but there are a couple of fun little movement tricks that I will be showing you guys what to do for. If you remember in the LOD video, I talked about doing a slide dash to an Assault Rider, and the indicator for that is when the Keyblade appears. Same thing with the slide dash you just saw right there. After this, we're going to come up to a damage boost. Where we're going to let one of the Lance soldiers hit us as we're running over here, going to give us a little bit extra speed. There's actually two damage boosts that we get on the way to Hades here. This is being the first one, and then there's going to be another one with the Lancer coming up later. In order to get both of them, you do need to use a potion, so you can kind of decide whether or not it's worth it to you to use that potion to get that extra damage boost. I'm not too concerned about potions with the run, but if you are, it doesn't hurt to save the potion right here and just take one of them. You know, doing both is probably saving you half a second max, so no big deal. But first we have another slide dash movement right here with this flower plant. One thing to look out for, the little souls that pop up as you're on your way over here, Sora can sometimes target one of those if it's nearby when you're trying to target the flower plant. So just be aware that there might be a soul nearby, and if it looks like you might target it, just keep walking. Don't bother going for the slide dash. It is what it is. It's not a big deal. But didn't happen in this case. And then coming up here is the last bit of movement tech that we used our potion for. We're going to get hit by these Lancers. Again, jumping when you get hit by them, so the moment you land, you instantly regain control of Sora. Alright, in this first little fight with Hades, you just have to apply some hits to him in order to progress. We do that just by doing a quick slide dash into a fire. Don't hold any direction with your analog stick when you do the slide dash. If you do, you might slide dash past Hades. I am pretty sure it's still fine, but by not holding in any direction, you just end up directly in front of him. So just do that. So slide dash, fire, boom, done. Easy. Quick menu here. Not too much to do in this one. We're just going to be taking Urns potions, changing two abilities, and changing two abilities for Urn and changing a Donald ability. So we're going to go up, take Urns 2 potions, switch over to Urns abilities. We're going to turn off Divider. So by pressing that 3 times, then we're going to go down, turn off Auto Limit, going to switch over to Donald, and we're going to turn on Donald Cure. And that's the menu. And now we get to the dreaded Hades Escape. If you bought the Fire Bangle, you'd also want to equip that in this menu. But since in my tutorial I didn't do that, you don't see me do it. But if you did, which I probably recommend you buying, equip it now. Because Hades Escape, as you probably know, is a scary-ass fight and is a very common reset point when you die to it. This example I show is the example of a perfect Hades Escape, which you don't expect to get. You expect there to be some improv, but I wanted to use this as an example just so you have a plan for every phase. I'll also talk about some of the improv that you'll need to do, but I'm just going to show you the optimal part first. As you might expect, it goes from easier to harder, starting with platform 1, moving to platform 3. So let's see how we begin here. At the very start, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take like 1 step backwards and jump up into a fire. That fire is going to hit all 4 of these bats who are going to come over to us and provoke them to do their Bat Cry RC, which is honestly our main source of damage throughout this entire fight. Take a step back, jump in fire, and now what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to lock on to one of these shadows as I run backwards. So you run backwards in order to encourage the shadows to come up out of the ground and walk towards you, and then when you grab your Bat Cry, you'll be targeting them, and hopefully you'll be able to clear them all out with just the 1 Bat Cry. And then after you do that, 1 full combo with a single overhead finisher will kill the bat that you Bat Cried. So pretty easy first platform. You might need to do some cleanup afterwards, no big deal, but just a pretty easy plan for this. So you see me target switch, do that back cry, picks up everything, and full combo, run into the next platform. One thing that I do as I'm running down here is I'm being very aware of what Hades is doing. So you might have been able to hear that Hades was doing a triple fireball. So he says feel the heat 3 times. Hades has like 4 different moves. He can triple fireball, he can single fireball, he can swipe at you, or he can do absolutely nothing. Triple is generally speaking the worst thing he can do, but it's really good in certain situations. For example, if he was to teleport to me now and then do a triple fireball, I'd actually be really happy about that, because that would give me time to get over here to where I'll be dealing with the enemies, and he's going to be locked elsewhere. In this example, you're going to see me get pretty lucky. He's going to teleport over to me and do absolutely nothing, which is great. We love that. But the way I'm going to show you how to deal with these Lancers and Shadows, it's going to give you the most options and the most ability to be aware of what Hades is doing. So I'm going to run on down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause kind of like right in front of them and jump over these Lancers as they try to attack me. We used to do a guard in the corner, but by jumping over them, you kind of just have a better feel of the whole arena. And at this point, say for example, if Hades had fireballed me here, the Lancers take a really long time to recover from their attack. So I would actually have time to get out of the way of that fireball and then go in and start doing fires on these 2 enemies. The Lancers die, and I think it's 6 fires, so 3 sets of 2 fires. We never do the finisher because the finisher knocks them away. So you're going to see I'm going to hop over, and I'm going to start firing them. Boom, boom. I'm going to take a couple steps just to make sure that my combo resets and to position myself a little better, because sometimes the Lancers like to fall out of your fires, either just by natural movement, maybe Urns whacking them, maybe Hades got in the way a bit. So just a little movement to position myself a bit better. So step over, start the fires again, and start the fires again. And I finish off that shadow with a finisher. Very smooth. It's not always going to work like that. You really got to be aware of what Hades is doing, and if you get hit, go into the limit. You don't see it here, which I think is a mistake. But normally when I do Hades escape, even before I get there, I turn my command menu over the limit side, because I want to be ready to, in a panic, use Urns limit at any time for safety. So, for example, if I was to get hit here while I was trying to deal with the Lancers, what I would want to do is do 1 more fire and then go right into the limit. No matter where I am, do 1 more fire and go into the limit. Because when you do Urns limit, it brings all the enemies in, and they're going to get brought in and get hit by that fire. So it's just a little bit of extra damage, and then you'll go through and mash X and triangle, probably canceling the limit before you get to the finisher. Maybe if you're really low on damage, you might want to do the finisher, but generally I want to cancel it before I do the finisher, just by moving to the stop button. But that's probably your best panic option here. It's annoying when you do it. It's time loss, and then you don't have MP for the next platform until later. But you are definitely going to have to do it at certain points. So just be aware of that. Now we're going to run on down to the 3rd platform. And this is going to start off with a bunch of Shadows and Lancers and then 2 bats spawning right over here. We're going to move off to the side. Also, still being aware what Hades is doing. I'm constantly listening and watching for his moves. So I'm going to go down, see the enemies spawn, take a few steps backwards. I'm going to jump over these Lancers, similar to how we did in the previous platform. I'm going to jump over them and do 1 Keyblade swing to try to catch these bats. So boom, catch the bat. That bat's going to get ready to bat cry. I lock onto the Lancers. You're going to see me do a little bit of a cool blizzard here. Since it only took me the 6 fires to kill all the enemies in platform 2, I actually still have enough MP to use 1 blizzard. You're not always going to have this MP. Maybe you had to use your limit, whatever. But But in this case, I have enough MP that I'm going to do a quick Blizzard and then get the Batcry and start hitting them. Just a little extra damage helps the Batcry kill them all in one go. But just if you clank or if you parry with the Lancers, you don't have time to do the Blizzard. I'm just letting you know of that. So only use it if you just hit the bats and hop over them. So you can see me do it. Blizzard, and then go and do the Batcry. What I like to do during this is, although the Lancers are what I'm mainly concerned about, I actually try to target the Shadows, because the Shadows are kind of the ones that are hardest to hit. And also by targeting the Shadows, the way Batcry works, it kind of has this arcing motion around Sora, and the very last arc that you do is like the finisher of the Batcry, and it does the most damage. If the Lancers are too like right next to you, they're not going to get hit by that final arc, and thus are going to miss out on the finisher damage, and it's likely not going to kill. But by targeting the Shadow, that kind of encourages them to be hit by the outward arc and get hit by the finisher damage. So you're going to see me clear all of them, I think, in this one go. There. I kill everything but the 2 bats, but I'm doing the combos to finish them off. If one of the Lancers or both of the Lancers or whatever are still alive, that's not a big deal. Just go and finish them off with regular combos, whether air combos, ground combos, whatever makes the most sense in your situation. I can't really speak to every single situation what is going to be optimal. You're just going to have to kind of improv with it. And again, always doing your best to be aware of where Hades is. So I'm going to finish off these bats. And then once I do that and get a little bit into the middle, then the final wave is going to spawn. The final wave is a large body, 2 Lancers, and a bat. What we're going to do is, just like we did a couple times before, we're going to jump over the Lancers and hit the bat. Jump over them, hit the bat. Still being aware of where Hades is. Hades was fireballing there, so I was getting ready to run out of the way. Or sometimes maybe it might have been smart to do 2 hits on the bat, if that helps me get out of the way of one of the fireballs. Again, just always being aware, Hades is a bitch in this fight, and you do your best to deal with him. So again, hit the bat. I'm going to come back out around behind these Lancers so that they'll get hit by as much of the Batcry as possible, and I'm going to target the large body. Again, I'm showing you like a perfect Hades escape. So this single Batcry is going to kill these Lancers, but it doesn't always do that. Just letting you know. It staggers the large body. And once I finish with that, I want to be facing the large body, and I'm going to drift slightly backwards away from it. The reason I do this is so that I can do a swing while I'm still targeting the large body that's going to catch this bat again. So I'm going to immediately proc another Batcry. Boom, hit the bat. Hades tries to screw me, but I'm able to pick it up. Finish off the large body. Clean ass fight. You know, it's not always going to look like that. Hell, it's almost never going to look like that. It's super rare to get a perfect fight like that. You're constantly going to be after doing cleanup, using potions, all of that good stuff. Or not good stuff, technically. So just be aware. Be aware if there's a lance tug coming for you. When the Lancers are kind of like running around with their weapon in front of them, that's when you know a lance tug is coming. And really just mash triangle to make sure you catch it before you get hit by it at all. Let me think. Any other one little note is, if you ever get hit by a shadow and you were at full health beforehand, that's actually kind of a good thing. So one of the biggest issues with this fight is, although both Donald and Orin can heal you, if you just get hit once by a Lancer or by Hades, it only puts you to half health, and that's not low enough health for Donald or Orin to decide to heal you. At that health, they will never heal you, which is why you'll have to throw yourself a potion. And at half health, you are still in one-shot range by everything, except for Hades if you bought the Fire Bangle. So just be aware of that and be prepared to throw potions, but make sure you're safe before you do it. But going back to what I was saying with when you get hit by a shadow, when you get hit by a shadow, it's actually a good thing because it doesn't quite do half health. It brings you to about here on your health bar, and then when you get hit again, it puts you down to like 3 HP, but doesn't kill you. At that health, Donald and Orin will heal you, and it'll bring you back up to full health. So that's just a nice little thing to note. Keeps you getting hit by a shadow is not the end of the world. So just another thing to be aware of. Hades Escape is really, really hard. It's going to take a lot of practice, and it's still going to kill your runs, unfortunately, fairly often. Or it's going to kill you. Maybe it's not going to kill your run, because, you know, who knows how optimized your run is, but it's going to kill you a lot. It's really hard. I think that's all I have to say for it. So let's move on to Cerberus. And if you didn't die to Hades Escape, you're going to die to Cerberus, but fortunately, that's on purpose. I know. I'm sorry. Oldest joke in the speedrun. As you probably know, we intentionally die to to Cerberus, so that we can use Mickey to kill him. Mickey is actually the fastest way to do it, which is kind of funny. And if you haven't died and used Mickey before, you will get Mickey 100% guaranteed. So if you haven't died and used him, you have nothing to worry about here. Cerberus always opens the fight jumping at you, so just don't move. The shockwave is going to hit you. Bam, going to go and do an air combo to get a little damage, and then Cerberus is going to kill you. And boom, we're going to hop into Mickey. So the first thing you want to do is do your best to lock on to his middle head. That's the best head to target, because how we want to position ourselves is kind of like in line with his heads, so that when you use your pearls, which is the square attack and is the one that does the most damage, basically it's giving you the highest likelihood that the pearls are going to hit the heads. Because if you're targeting the middle one, maybe it'll go through this one and hit this one and then also hit this one. It's just increasing your odds. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to jump and start mashing square. What you're hoping to see is damage below 1 bar, which is about what I got to. At around this point, Cerberus is going to start fireballing. We're just going to go in with Mickey combos as hard as we can. As you probably know, Mickey's combos are shit, so it's hard to get that much damage done, but we do our best. Just beating up on him as much as possible. I'm getting in a little bit here. And yeah, here he is fireballing. His fireballs and attacks don't do too much damage to Mickey, so you're not really worried about Mickey's health. And once I see my MP come back, I hop up and start doing the pearls again. Make sure you put Cerberus to 1 HP. Because what you want to do is once you've hit max drive and Cerberus is at 1 HP, you want to revive Sora and then kill Cerberus with a blizzard or a fire, depending on how close you are to him. Whatever makes more sense. If he's not at 1 HP, a blizzard or a fire isn't necessarily going to kill, and you'll probably need to go into Urns limit in order to kill Cerberus. So we're going to put him to 1 HP with the pearls. I took a little bit of a gamble, thinking he wasn't at 1 HP when I did that last pearl. Let me chop back a little more. He wasn't at 1 HP when I did this last one, but I was pretty confident this final pearl was going to put him to 1 HP, so I used it and then revived Sora. You see him, boom, he's at 1 HP. And I'm going to hop up and kill him with a blizzard. Or I'm going to whiff, and then I'm going to kill him with a blizzard. If he's at a distance where he starts fireballing you, just go right into Urns limit. It's not worth trying to get out of the way and blizzard him and potentially get killed by the fireballs. So just go right into Urns limit and mash it and go kill him. Something that I didn't note throughout this is Cerberus's attacks are actually pretty based on distance. So at about half health, he's going to fireball no matter what. But once you get more towards the lower health, as I'm starting to pearl here, if I was far away from Cerberus, he probably would start fireballing again. So you just want to be mindful of your distance from him, and you want to be as close as possible where you aren't getting hit, your pearls are connecting, and he's not going to fireball you. It's a little hard to say what that exact distance is, but you're kind of seeing it with where I'm standing here. Or floating, I guess I should say. But that's about it for Cerberus. Obviously not a super complicated fight, but if you get bad luck with your Mickey damage, it can still lose you a little bit of time. Or if you whiff your blizzards like you see me do there. But that's pretty much it. Not one of the ones we're too worried about in this world. No menu there. Just gonna walk on over to the actual Coliseum part. See me switch my menu over because we're going to immediately go into Valor form for some movement. I'll just let it ride. Gonna run over and get to the Urns segment of the run. So a couple mini games in OC. There's the Training Urns and the Maniac Urns. These aren't too complicated. They're not too bad in crit because you have draw and double finisher. The way we're going to start this off is you're going to get a group of 5 that spawns here, a group of 5 that spawns here, and a group of 5 that spawns here, and a group of 5 that spawns directly in front of you, or behind you, I mean. We're going to run at about the 10 o'clock direction, go right over this way, so we can get around the side of the group that spawns in front of us, and start going after this urn. We're going to do a full air combo, double finisher, and hopefully clear out all of these if we can. But as long as you get, like, 3 of them, you're probably good, which is all I got there. I'm going to collect all the orbs that popped out, and then I'm going to move on to the next group. And since each urn gives 3, so I killed 3 there, and it gave me 9 because I picked up all of them. I know I need 11 more, so I know I need to at least kill 4 of these and then pick them all up. Basically, the more you get, the better, obviously. It's going to help you go faster. Yeah, not too much more to say with this. You see, I didn't actually clear them all, so I had to go do another combo, lost a little time. You want to see like 122, 123 on this timer. This is obviously a pretty bad one. Not every aspect of my play in these tutorials is going to be perfect. I figure showing some bad examples is not necessarily a bad thing. But that's the first Urns, pretty easy. Now we're going to move into Maniac Urns. The way I like to start this fight off is with a ground combo with a single finisher and then a blizzard finisher. I like to do that by first heading over to this grouping. So you got to take a couple steps forward and then slide dash. If you just immediately slide dash, you're going to go backwards. So take a couple steps forward and then slide dash. Combo. And then I'm going to do a blizzard finisher, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to target switch over to this side to hopefully get this little lineup and kill all of these urns. I don't know if I successfully do that here. Let's see. No, but I killed a couple with that. And now I'm just going to start air comboing. Basically, we want to kill as many urns as possible, because after this, we're going to get another group of urns spawn right there, like you just saw. And the more of the urns that were out that you kill, the more that will spawn in this next phase. Gonna do another air combo, try to take them all out. Do a pretty good job there. See my urn count? Haha, 69, nice. I'm trying to get up to 70 or better. The next wave that's gonna spawns with a big urn and then a grouping of small urns. The big urn releases 3 orbs that are large, and each one is worth 10. So if you're at 70, just killing the big urn is enough to clear. But if you can get yourself even higher to like 80 or even to 90, then, well, 1, the big urn will clear and you just only need like 1 or 2 of the orbs that it drops. But if you happen to be closer to the pile instead of the big guy, you'd probably just be able to hit the pile and finish off the fight as well. So here I'm just trying to kill as many as I can, pick up a few more orbs, and see where's the spawn. Oh, there's the spawn. All right, I'm just going to take out the big one. Boom. Got him. It's over. 102 on the timer. Not amazing. It's, as far as I know, and as far as we know, it's RNG when that final wave spawns. Sometimes it spawns earlier for whatever reason, and you can get like a 105 or even a 106. Sometimes it spawns later. You're getting more like a 102, 103. I don't know why. I wish I did, but it is what it is. Gonna go talk to Herc, and then hop into Valor form and run back to the underworld. And here we're about to see our second menu in Olympus. So at this point we had, well, we go pick up this power boost first of all. We're gonna immediately use that, and then I'm gonna go into the menu here. Sorry, there's a little cut. Go in the menu. So I use the power boost. Let me go back. So I go down to stock, use the power boost on Sora, obviously. Bam. Then I go into Sora's items. So back out, go into Sora's items. I'm going to replace 2 of these potions with ethers. So I'm going to be down to, or I'm going to be at 2 ethers and 1 potion. And once I do that, I'm also going to press triangle to turn on auto reload. If you don't turn on auto reload, you're just going to use these ethers and they won't be back. So turn that on. I'm then going to hit square and go equip aerial dive and counter guard. And that's the full menu. It's a bit of an awkward one, but it's not too lengthy. So power boost, 2 ethers, auto reload, aerial dive, counter guard. And that's that. Now we're going to just run on over to the Demyx fight. I don't think there's anything to be said as we're running over here. No, just make sure you go the right direction. Alright, Demyx is kind of a source of randomness, but you can kind of control this, unfortunately, to make it faster. What I personally consider to be an average fight is 42 seconds left on the timer, but I've gotten it as fast as 54 seconds, and it pains me that it's possible to go that much faster, and I cannot do that consistently. Basically, you hit the water clones and do the RC, try to take out as many as possible. Your goal is to stay as close to the center or as close to Demyx as possible as you're doing your RCs, so that they're taking out as many as possible and then taking out the new ones that spawn. So I like to do slide dashes to get there. Sometimes I'll jump and do hits. Sometimes I'll just do standing hits. For the most part, I'm just kind of mashing the RC, but you can do a little bit of directionalization here. So Sora is going to toss the water clones in the direction of the clone that you're auto-targeting, as you kind of see. There'll be a little bit of an example. So I saw that I was auto-targeted onto that clone that is a little bit more in the middle. So I locked on to make sure I threw it that direction, because I wanted to get back into the middle. So I'm constant, like, if I think I'm gonna lock on to a wrong thing, like I make sure I switch to get a better lock on. It's a bit of a crapshoot. I'm doing my best here. If you start to get too far away from the middle, I'd probably suggest, once you do the RC, to use a fire to kill all the clones that are around you and then head back towards the middle to where Demyx is. Just kind of as a reset for yourself. But it's a bit of a crapshoot. I don't think there's much more I can say about this fight. Wish it could always be fast. I think this one's like a 45 or something, which I'd be pretty happy with if I got in a run. Yeah. So I do a fire at the end there in case the RC didn't kill all of those last guys, just to clean it up. And now we go into Pete. So there is a lot to cover with Pete, and I'm going to show you a lot of examples of things. The first phase of Pete is a 1-minute timed fight. There's no timer, but this fight takes 1 minute no matter what. And your goal here is to kill as many enemies as possible and get as much experience as possible. And we semi-recently discovered a strat called Fast Bats. And what we can do is we can force Pete to call in the next waves faster by doing certain things. But first off, we're going to open this fight. Meg is going to run in a random direction, and we're going to jump in the direction that she goes and do a fire. So she heads to the left, I jump and do a fire, hit all the bats. I'm going to land and do this bat cry. I want to take out all of these bats. That's my first objective. And then I'm going to go beat up Pete. So I got lucky in this one that the bat cry also hit Pete. That doesn't always happen, and if it doesn't, you'll probably have to wait for him to do an attack and then go start hitting him. But since he's already staggered, and just as FYI, Batcry doesn't do any revenge value. Reaction commands in general don't do revenge value. Which I don't know if I've explained revenge value before. I don't know if that's something I need to explain, but basically it's the concept of when you do a bunch of hits on a boss, eventually the boss will break out and do some sort of retaliation. That's called hitting his revenge value. And that's what we're going to manipulate right here. So we're going to do 2 full air combos on Pete with a 1 finisher. Oh, actually, I didn't catch him there, so I had to wait for him to get out of the bubble. 1 finisher, 1 more finisher, and he's going to retaliate. When he retaliates here, he immediately follows it up by calling in enemies. And that's kind of a newer discovery. Usually, we used to have to just wait until he decided to call in enemies after a certain amount of time. Now we can force him to call in the next wave, which is going to be 3 soldiers. Couple things to look out for. Or actually, one main thing to look out for. A lot of times he's against the wall as you're trying to do these combos. If you knock him into the wall, instead of doing his punch attack retaliation, he's going to go into his pinball. And he doesn't whistle after he does his pinball. So don't knock him into the wall. Jump at a certain angle to make sure that he doesn't get in the wall. I think I demonstrate it later on here after I deal with the soldiers wave. So we'll talk about it a little more then. But now the soldiers are coming out. And what we want is the soldiers to be around Meg so that we can fire them and they will give us their RC. A little bit of notes on manipulating Meg. If you are right next to Meg and then start running away, she's going to follow you. But if you are right next to Meg and she starts running away, she's going to go away from you and you can't really run her down. So you kind of want to stay, or what you're going to see me do is be kind of away from her and see she's running after me. So I want her to come towards me so that the soldiers spawn around her and then I'm right next to her so I can start firing them. And the point of the fire is to do the same manipulation that we did in Tower, where we did 3 hits to force them to do their Cyclone RC. This fire is just doing 3 hits on them. And I'm going to use the Cyclone RC to take out these 2 guys as quickly as possible. But I'm going to leave the final guy alive. And I'll show you why in just a second. Boom. So I've killed 2 of them, but there's still 1 guy who's alive. And now I'm going to go hit Pete's revenge value in the same way as you saw me do it before. And this is where I told you I'm up against the wall. So I waited for him to attack. Catch him out. So I really get into the side to make sure I don't hit him into the wall. And he's going to retaliate. During this time he's retaliating, I need to kill the soldier. Because if you kill the final enemy while he's retaliating, he is going to call in his bats immediately afterwards. If you kill the enemy before he retaliates, or if you kill the enemy after he retaliates, he's not going to call them in. So this is really important. So that's why I want to leave 1 alive, and hopefully Donald and Goofy do some damage to it, but don't kill it before I have time to hit his revenge value. But you're going to see me go kill this guy. So now he whistles them in. And now I go ham on the bats. I like to do Batcry RCs because it keeps me safe, it does a lot of damage, can hit both Pete and the bats. And, you know, the more I can get, the better. Alright, you see me get hit at the end. That was the end of the minute. Now I'm going to show you an example where I fail to kill the soldiers simultaneously. We're going to start it over from the beginning, just show you the same process. Jump towards Meg, do the fire. Boom, RC. This time I do successfully pick up Pete. See how I get along the wall to make sure I don't knock him into the wall? And I'm running away because I want Meg to come over to me, and she does. Do the fire, get my Cyclone. And I kill those 2 soldiers. But unfortunately, you might have heard there, the other soldier died during this. So Pete's going to retaliate, but he's not going to whistle. But I'm not going to give him even a chance to fail to whistle. I'm going to immediately go do another RV provoking on him. Bam. And this time, and now I'm going to run away. That's also key. You need to run far away from him. And this time, when he does his retaliation, he is going to whistle in. So watch. He's going to point, and then he's going to whistle. So that's what you do if you happen to kill them at the same time. You can still get the bats quicker. Just a cool thing to note. And a nice backup, because you really want to kill these bats. This experience is important. Makes you have to do less work during the mini escort section. Also, just an FYI, whenever you get hit, potion. I don't potion here. That's dumb. You get two-shot by like everything in this fight. So if you get hit once, potion, so you don't die. Also, as you might have noticed from the previous menu that we did, you only have one potion, so be careful. Do your best not to die while getting as much experience as possible. But now we're going to get into the Pete fight proper. And now I'm going to show you 3 different examples of things to do, or of things that can happen and how to respond. So at the opening of the fight, we're going to just take like 1 or 2 steps forward, and then we're going to slide dash Pete and lock onto him. In this first example, the slide dash is going to hit, and we're going to immediately go into Valor form. In the next example, the slide dash, Pete is going to immediately pinball. We're still going to immediately go into Valor form, but it operates a little differently. So we're going to slide dash, or take a few steps forward, slide dash, lock onto Pete, go immediately into Valor form. I'm going to do this little bit of a run around. I run around Pete. The ghosts are coming after me. I do this run around to avoid them, and then grab the bat cry. And this bat cry is going to be hitting Pete and the ghosts. That's the goal here, is if possible, kill the ghosts. But number 1 priority is do damage on Pete. And you're going to see bat cry does insane damage. So there I managed to kill 1 ghost. After the bat cry, I do a single hit into a finisher. And then I just start comboing Pete. Something that's good to note, if you're just doing these empty air hits on Pete while he's on the ground, eventually he's just going to retaliate with his boulder. But he's never going to retaliate with a punch, just so you know, and that's really helpful. But yeah, so doing those empty hits... Doing those empty hits is also good without the finisher, because if the ghosts are still alive and they're shooting fireballs at you, you can parry the fireballs, and the parried fireballs will come in a hit Pete and do tons of damage. The parried fireballs do lots of damage. But this is kind of what I would consider the easier RNG, where you immediately get the slide dash. Let's just show this one more time in fast motion. Or where Pete decides to bowling ball. I actually see Donald killed that other ghost, so that was lucky. And then I just finish Pete off. In this next example, Pete is going to pinball immediately. But we're going to operate exactly the same way. So I clank with him, and I go into Valor form. In this example, when I go into Valor form, Pete gets knocked backwards. But that doesn't always happen. In other examples, he doesn't get knocked backwards. And if you've dealt with Pete's pinball before, you know he goes into it and starts to heal himself. But if you hit him once, he gets knocked backwards and then does the same, like laughing, and heals himself and takes even longer to come out. So here you're going to see him get knocked backwards. If that didn't happen, then I'd want to go and do a physical hit on the bubble to force it to get knocked backwards. You want to make sure you knock him backwards so that when you start hitting him with the bat cry, the end of it is going to hit him. If you don't knock him backwards and try to do the bat cry, your entire bat cry is going to hit his bubble and it's going to do no damage. And that's obviously bad. But regardless, afterwards, we've knocked him backwards. We're going to run towards him and then head to the left. Right also works, but I like to head to the left as the ghosts are coming towards me. So I'm getting out of the way, and again, picking up the bat cry, orienting myself so that I'm hitting Pete and also hitting the ghosts if I can. And just FYI, I'm locked on to Pete this whole time. Boom, catches him out of it. Does pretty good damage. Do the same thing. I go and hit him with an X square. A lot of times what happens in this bubble pattern is when you do your X square, you're actually not going to kill this bat. For whatever reason, it's a lot more common position-wise to not kill the bat with your finisher here. And I actually try to force that to happen. I'm kind of holding away from the bat so that when I go and do this here, it hits him, but it doesn't kill him. And I've got another bat cry coming my way, and instead of doing combos, I just go and use that. Safe and fast. So this is a pretty easy fight, but you'll notice there's one more example. And this is more of a rare case. I'd say it happens like 5% of the time maybe, but I think it's common enough that it's worth knowing what to do if it happens. So I'm going to get the bowling ball RNG so he doesn't go into his bubble. Doing the same thing. But this time, a ghost had enough time to get a fireball out. My drive explosion parried the fireball, and the fireball is going to go and hit Pete. When it hits Pete, it gets him out of his falling animation, and if he was to land on the ground, he would immediately go into the pinball. But I noticed that the fireball came out and hit him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately jump and do a finisher on him. Then I'm going to land on the ground, pick up a back cry, go to town. Little bit different, little bit of improv, so let's watch that one more time fast. But it's an important thing to know. And that's Pete. If you thought all of this was tough, we got one more tough fight coming up. So, quick menu here. Gonna immediately go into our abilities, which we were already on. The menus are sticky within worlds, so they remember where you were the previous time you opened the menu. And we ended our menu by equipping aerial dive and counter guard. So when we go into it this time, we're immediately on counter guard, and we go down twice and equip Trinity Limit. Please remember to equip Trinity Limits. It's very important, and if you don't have it for the next fight, you just gotta die. There's no dealing with it otherwise. But the next fight is Hydra, and I'm going to have to show 3 examples for this fight because Hydra has 3 different totally random patterns that you have to deal with. There is best head pattern, which speaks for itself, fast head pattern, and worst head pattern, which also speaks for itself. Yes, very creatively named. But the beginning operates the same all the way through. I'm going to use this Valor form that I have to get a little extra movement before I go into the fight, but I'm going to revert and switch my command menu over to limit before I enter. Just because at the start of the fight, we're going to immediately go into Trinity Limit, and I just want to be prepared to do that. I also revert and jump through the door, because sometimes when you revert, Goofy spawns like right in front of you, and it's really annoying, so I just jump to make sure I jump over him. That's not important. Anyways, let's get into Hydra. So we're going to immediately open the fight, going into Trinity Limit and using Break. Break is the one where you press X. And after that, we're going to immediately go into Ultima, which is square. And then we're going to do the finisher. That's going to always kill. Get rid of the very first phase of Hydra. Pretty self-explanatory. We're going to walk over to get ourselves center-oriented so that when we do the RC to kill, we're going to end up directly behind him, and we're going to be able to land onto his back from being in the air, right out of the RC. Boom, land on the back. Do Phil's RC. And then we're going to head and deal with the left head first. So all of these heads, when they're at full health, die to 2 full air combos. So an air combo with 2 finishers. Donald's done a little damage to this one, so it takes me 1 less finisher. Now I'm going to orient myself on that side so that I kill the Hydra head into the direction of the middle one. Just a little bit of positioning. And start doing my combos on this guy. Hopefully the boys are doing some damage to this final head that I'm going to run over to. And now's where the variation comes in. We're going to do immediately another Trinity, but what Hydra does afterwards is going to be random. So let's see how this goes. First important thing is how you position yourself. So you want to get directly into the middle in front of Hydra and look up at him. If you're in the correct position, auto target is going to immediately target this head, which is what you want. I like to lock on just to make sure I'm in the right position and have gotten this head, and then I immediately go into Trinity using break. Then I lock off so my camera isn't getting messy, and I turn my camera to face this way. Because now I'm going to fall and try to position myself in between these two heads, and I'm going to fall for just a little bit, around like here-ish, and then I'm going to go into Ultima, which is the square one. And this Ultima is going to be hitting both this head and this head when it pops back up, and hitting those two heads simultaneously with Ultima is going to do a ton of damage. It's going to get him down like a full bar, which you'll see when I go into the finisher immediately afterwards. So I'm in the finisher, and now I open up my item menu and get ready to throw myself an ether. Because depending on the pattern, I'm either going to want to immediately use this ether and then another one, or I might not have to. This first example is best head pattern. With best head pattern, you don't need to use, you get to save 2 ethers to have for later on the run, which is really nice. So what does best head pattern look like? So you're going to see one head, this head, is going to be far off to the right, and this head is going to be kind of like right in the middle, and your finisher is going to hit. So it'll be a little bit more obvious which head pattern is which once I've shown you all 3 of them, but I am able to identify that this is the best head pattern. And what these heads are going to do is they're going to alternate back and forth being in the middle of the arena. So yeah, look at how much damage that did. We were at like up here with 1 bar still remaining. So that did over a bar of damage, which is fantastic. But now coming out of this, I know this head is right here. I'm going to slide dash, get a little bit of damage, then I'm going to lock off and switch over to the next head which is coming over. I see this one leaving. I'm going to move to the one that's coming over here. I'm going to start trying to hit it. These dark orbs are constantly trying to get in your way and fuck with you. They suck. You can survive 3 of them. So if you get hit once and then get hit again, Donald will heal you. You can get hit 1 more time, but then a 4th one will kill you. They are good at targeting you, but most of the time you should be safe. But it is scary. It is dangerous. So just be aware of it. And they can also cause you to clank, and maybe you don't get enough damage on it. The point of best head pattern is you are able to just do physical combos on these 2 heads that are alternating back and forth and put them down to 1 HP. There, Donald heals me. And you kind of get a sense for the timing of how these heads move. So I go in on this guy. Okay, it's leaving. I go try to attack this one. Okay, it's leaving. I lock off and go try to attack this one. Okay, it's leaving. I go and try to attack this one. And I put him down. You'll get a feel of how much time you have to do all of that. But that's how you deal with best head pattern. That's the head pattern you want. I think it's like 2-ish seconds faster than fast head pattern and like 4 or 5 faster than slow head pattern. Just kind of by nature, there's no way around it. Worse head pattern, you're just going to lose time. But that's best head pattern. Let's now see fast head pattern. So we're going to open up exactly the same way, getting ourselves centered, looking at Hydra, locking on, locking off, situating our camera, falling for a little bit, and then going into the Ultima, and then going into our finisher, getting ready to use the ether, and now I'm going to get fast head pattern, and I'm going to use that ether. So the way you tell you got fast head pattern is this head in the middle comes down instead. So there's one off to the side here, there's a middle guy, and there's also one behind us. But we want to lock onto this middle head. I'm going to immediately use that ether that I have queued up, and then I'm going to go into an aerial dive combo with 2 finishers. Hopefully that's able to land. If that lands, we're in business. Sometimes the dark orbs will hit you out of it, and then you'll have to go a little bit slower. But assuming it lands, like I'm going to show you it happen here. Boom, boom. Now I'm going to land and immediately throw another ether. Then I'm going to switch my command menu, position myself a little bit over here, and go into Trinity. Because I'm going to immediately go into this Ultima, the head is going to move back into it, and then I can immediately go into the finisher and kill. This only works because of where the damage was at, though. So if you failed to get this combo off double finisher, like if the dark orb hits you out of it, do the same thing. Go into the Ultima, but you're going to have to use break and also major drive afterwards. So do the Ultima, then hit X, start beating them up, then hit triangle, do more hits if you can, and then go into finisher. It's unfortunate when you get knocked out of it. It's bad luck. It costs you time, but you'd rather lose time than it potentially not kill and you lose your run. So just something to think about. So that's fast head pattern. And now we move on to worst head pattern. Once this kills. Alright, again, opening up the exact same way. I'm just showing you that no matter what you do, the head pattern you get, it's going to be random. And now we're going to see what worst head pattern looks like. The indicators of worst head pattern is, unfortunately, the finish of your Trinity is not going to hit. When this head is way off to the side and there's no head in the middle, you know you've gotten worst head pattern. The head on the other side, or behind us, is also way off to the side, which is why the finisher totally whiffs. So it still does a lot of damage, but if the finisher had hit, they'd be down to here. So what I'm going to do is, I've accidentally locked onto this head, but I'm actually going to switch, or I'm going to throw my 2 ethers. That's key. And then I'm going to lock onto this head that's closest, and then I'm going to target switch to the left twice. So I'm going to switch to this head, and then my second target switch is going to put me to this head, and then we're going to go immediately into Trinity break. Then Ultima, then finisher. So essentially what we're doing with this worst head pattern is an identical Trinity to the one we just did. We're locking onto that same head, we're doing the same format, and it's going to do, once again, a bar of damage. Bam. And ladies and gentlemen, that's OC. Oh, we got our suggested videos. It's a lot. It's arguably the hardest world in the run. And it's going to take a lot of practice, a lot of work. It's going to kill you a bunch of times. And it's just going to be how it is. But hopefully, like I've said in previous videos, this taught you something. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.